Sir, shall we start?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Good afternoon. As a part of birth centenary celebrations of Dr. V. Kurien, today we are going to have a talk on the theme Operation Flood and the man behind it. I am happy to share that we have with us Dr. K.R. Trivedi, ex-General Manager NDDB, to deliver the talk. A very warm welcome to you, sir, and to all those who have joined for the talk. Before I request Dr. Trivedi to deliver his talk, may I take this opportunity to speak a few words in his introduction. Dr. Trivedi did his post-graduation in animal breeding and genetics from IVRI, Nagar, and fellowship from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. He joined NDDB in the year 1980 and retired from it in the year 2012, almost serving this organization for more than 32 years. Though he retired, but continued to get associated with NDDB. During his service, he was responsible for developing strategies and programs for the genetic improvements of cattle and buffaloes in the country. He was actively involved in planning and implementing activities related to productivity enhancement of cattle and buffalo under Operation Flood 2-3 Perspective Plan and also during NDP-1. He was instrumental in developing the information network for animal productivity and health, that we call it as ENAF, which is now being used widely in the country. Dr. Trivedi has also done many assignments for FAO, ICAR, World Bank, and other organizations. He has also widely traveled developed and developing countries. Sir, we are privileged to have you with us for delivering talk on Operation Flood and the man behind it as a part of Dr. V. Kurien Leadership Lecture Series, and look forward to an engaging session. Friends, the format for this session involves the talk by the speaker, followed by question and answer session. Those who are interested to ask questions may send their questions in the comment section. That we shall put those questions to Dr. Trivedi after conclusion of this session. Sir, may I now request you to deliver your session? Please, sir.
Yes, yeah, I'll share my presentation. First of all, Karan, thank you very much for kind words. My talk would be on the key feature of Operation Flood that, in my opinion, made Operation Flood succeed. I have identified 12 features, in my opinion, and I will describe one by one. The top in my list is the NDDP sticking to the replication of one single well-proven model, the Anand pattern of dairy cooperative throughout India. Everybody knows about Anand pattern, but let me just summarize the cardinal principle of Anand pattern dairy cooperatives. Farmers at the village level form cooperative. It is governed by elected board, buy milk from members on quality and make payment. This societies form a district cooperative union, which is governed by all elected board, owns a dairy processing plant, employ professional, and decide on producer price as well as price for liquid milk sale price. They buy milk from societies, makes payment to them, and also provide productive and armed services. The district cooperative unions together form a federation at the state. Federation sells product and make payment. This structure, that is what NDDP decided to replicate. Because NDDP had this structure before Operation Flood started in Kheda district, and people were knowing, people who are involved in initial stages were very thorough about how this is done. So it was easy for NDD to replicate quickly in the country. If you see in our fund, the target was to put Anand Patent Cooperative in 27 milk set, raised to 39 at the end of OF1. And there was 30,000 DCS, 1.7 million members, average collection raised to 26.6 lakh liters. And procurement growth, annual growth was 15.2%, with quite high growth rate. In Operation Flood 2, in OF2, we added one more layer of federation. And at that time also, Gujarat, GCMF was already formed. So NDDB also had an experience of what federation should do, how federation should operate. So in OF2, it was third layer was added. And this was an expansion phase. Very quickly, a very large number of milk sets were covered. 136 milk sets, 34,000 GCAs, 3.63 million members, 22 federation. And growth in procurement was very high, 22.5% annually. Maybe it is from a lower base, but still it is a very high growth rate. The operation third, between 86 and 96, milk sets raised to 170 milk set. It was a consolidated phase where growth in procurement was slower than first two phases. It was 4.2%. This was a design which is used by NDDP to replicate in entire country. Dr. Kurien, while explaining the secret of Amul early success to then Prime Minister Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri in 1964, said, "Sir, this is the dairy owned by farmers. It is managed by an elected board of farmers. They, in their wisdom, have appointed me as a professional manager to manage it for them, even as I remain subordinate to them. I am not sent by the government. I am an employee of this cooperative. They can hire me. They can fire me. So when you have this combination, that is the power of its people with professional manager like me, many good things can happen." So if I summarize the cardinal principle of Anand pattern is cooperatives controlled by farmers, that means governed by their elected representative. They have a right to set price, both retail price and producers price. They can hire and fire their employed professional staff and can go also bankrupt. Where these cardinal principles were followed, the cooperatives had been very successful. They progressed well. For example, in case of Gujarat, many cooperatives progressed well. But where this cardinal principle were not followed, their progress had been seriously impeded and had severe financial problem. The second key feature, in my view, is that the OF focus on providing remunerative market access. They consider first providing market access, connected producers with the consumer of major cities. In Dr. Kurien's word, he said in one place, "No Bombay, no Anand." There cannot be production unless it can be marketed at a price which is advantageous to those who produce. Getting remunerative price is the first and foremost catalyst for increased production and then productivity. So in the world experience of World Bank financing and FAO financing, many projects they have funded, starting with the supply side. That means increasing milk production, taking a nutrition project or genetic improvement project without considerations of market access. And these projects were not successful. They were run so long as the donor agency funded those projects. And the moment the fund was stopped, these projects were also closed. Unless a project generates revenue, then only the project can be sustained for a long time. And that is the key principle that on which Operation Flood operate. Provide first a remunerative market. The third key focus of Anand pattern, in my view, is that cooperative cardinal principle is that it focuses on farmer first. The business model of Anand pattern is maximizing the revenue of producers member. Maximizing the revenue of producer member. That is, maximizing the value of raw material that the cooperative handles, and not maximizing return to supplier of capital. That is, private companies looks for profit, increasing profit, and these companies often increase their profit by minimizing procurement prices. So the Anand pattern cooperative, the key thing is to maximizing the revenue of producers member. That means maximizing the producer price. Where federations, our experience of Operation Flood, where federation and milk unions were established with government-nominated boards and controlled by government, they often developed systems that benefited consumers, that means consumer first, more than producers. Perhaps consumers are more vocal than the producers. Producers have less negotiating power. And that's why they were looking at consumers first. They were always hesitant to raise consumer prices when due and passing benefit to producers. World Bank, in its review report, they assess 117 cooperatives receiving assistance under the World Bank OF3, they call it NDP2, found that 52% of cooperatives incurred losses. And they identified the reasons is that most of these cooperatives were government controlled. The board were nominated by the government. So this were not farmers first. It was something else first. So that's why many cooperatives got into severe financial problem and incur heavy losses. See, one of the things which helped Operation Flood is that it developed full program on a single commodity, milk. Milk, characteristics of milk help Operation Flood to set up cooperative. There are three characteristics, in my opinion, are helped Operation Flood to set up cooperatives. First is perishability of milk. If milk is perishable, farmers cannot keep milk for 3 to 4 hours, more than 4 hours. So when the milk has to be sold, these farmers will tend to come together to sell their product, their milk. It is not the case in wheat or rice. And that's the reason why we would not find cooperatives in wheat or rice, but you find cooperatives in milk. Second thing is when a product is produced by a large number of people, each producing small quantity of milk, each farmer cannot sell its product to go to consumer and sell it. So if the farmers come together and put their whole entire milk, then they can able to sell it. And third important thing is that if any product requires processing before it goes to the consumer. So in the case of milk, when large quantity of milk is to be sold to consumer, it needs processing. Milk in the pasteurization and then milk and milk product. So these three characteristics help in setting up cooperative. Say if you took it apart from milk, the next product could be oil seeds. Oil seeds are not perishable. They can be stored, but it cannot be stored for a long time. The oil seed also produces small quantity by a large number of farmers. And oil seeds need processing, and that will mean investment. That's why perhaps NDDB also took up oil seeds as the next project. Others are vegetables and fruits. These are also perishable, small quantity production, and if you have to keep for a long period, little bit of processing. So these are the products which will be helpful to start up a cooperative. And that's how milk became very important for Operation Flood because it helped to set up the cooperatives. However, we should not take it that milk is only for increasing income. We have seen, and many studies in Operation Flood areas have demonstrated that implementation of Operation Flood in many areas not only increase income, but it also improve education of children, particularly girls, increase employment, because when the ladies are engaged in daring, then they don't go as a laborer in the market. So they create a space for others to be employed. That's employment will increase, not direct employment, also indirect employment. And this cooperative, they also have done a lot of social amenity, created social amenity. They have put up a connecting road from village to the main road. They have put up renovated schools. They help water, building a water tank, and many other things they have helped to keep. So the milk, although it is single commodity, but when you develop a good institutions on a single commodity, it also have a multiplier effect and help other things in improving education, employment, and other things. The fifth, in my view, and which is used, is food aid for development. Dr. Kurien, that time starting Operation Trivedi, convinced the government to hand over the EEC's gifted surplus milk, skim milk powder, and butter oil to NDDP and IDC. Give it to NDDP. And he also convinced government that NDDP and IDC should be the sole importer of skim milk powder. Nobody else can import in the country, ensuring that commodities are monetized at prices that are consistent with the farm gate milk price. That means when skim milk powder and butter oil is used to reconstitute milk, you keep a price of reconstituted milk such that it's not lower than the farm gate price. If that is the case, then the imported powder will not create a problem in the country. So after using this skim milk powder and butter oil, NDDP generated a fund, and this fund was used for creation of infrastructure for milk production, procurement, processing, marketing under OF 1, 2, and 3. Huge commodity that were received in OF 1, in OF 2, and also in OF 3. And these commodities were used to reconstitute and generate fund. And that is used in OF 1, OF 2, and OF 3. OF is really a rare example of food aid used for development. World Bank has funded many projects in African countries, but food aid was never used for creating an infrastructure. Food aid is used for emergency purposes. So it was the first time that India demonstrated that food aid could be used for development purposes. That's unique in itself. And this has been quoted at several places. In fact, the food aid eliminated the need for food aid. That is, the moment we use this food aid and created structure and developed local dairy industry, there was no need to food aid. The sixth point that is a very important thing, people might not realize this, is that there was an existence of NDDB. There are many, very few examples where in a particular sector, there is an organization, an independent, professional, and resourceful organization, which can meet the requirement of all cooperative institutions. There are many, not many sectors where you find an organizations which help technically, financially, in human resource development. So, existence of NDDB also help in implementing Operation Flood program. One of the things initially that NDDB did was send a multidisciplinary spearhead team in 18 places. This spearhead team stayed in villages, worked with farmers. They organized cooperative at village level. They organized milk procurement routes. With the help of NDDP, they set up a chilling centers, the processing plants, and build a similar cooperative like in Kheda district, Anand Pattern cooperative, 18 places. And this is multidisciplinary teams. I still remember that this team working in the villages created such a good impression about NDDP and Operation Flood. And it And it helped NDDP to replicate these structures very quickly wherever this spirit team worked in the respective states. The NDDP generated fund, provided fund to build producers' own organizations. One of the important point for NDDP was that it has a financial independence. Whatever money they generated, they had freedom to decide how to use it, so that they act decisively, very quickly, and implemented the project. They assisted in planning and appraisal of projects, help in building meat processing facility with sufficient conversion capacity, establish network of storage and long distance transport facility, creating national milk grid, assisted Milk Union to set up facility to provide technical input services to their members, set up cattle feed plants, cement station, bull mother farm, AI infrastructure, arrange technical training, HRD for all the unions and federation staff. They also closely monitored projects and provided feedback, set up IDMC to manufacture dairy machinery locally, and proactively acted on protecting the interest of dairy industry. And look at the institution. It provided help for almost 2.5 decades. There are not many organizations where in one particular sector for such a long period of time provide all the help that is required for building institutions. NDDP had expert in all of its needs of entire dairy value chain. With the flexibility in recruiting, NDDP could attract best talent and nurture them. I remember a lot of people in NDDP joined, very educated, a lot of experienced people came in NDDP. Because of flexibility NDDP had that time, they attracted talent and nurtured them for a time. And NDDP built a culture of honesty, professional integrity, making it really a learning organization. There was a lot of freedom of work. And that freedom made many NDDP employees to develop themselves in their chosen area and excel. Many stayed for a long time in the organization and contributed to its development. I must say that whenever need arose, NDDP provided that input in developing technology or providing informations. So let me just give you examples. When there was a need to develop an electronic testing machine, NDDP worked with the private organizations and made this very important, very valuable machine at that time. And it is used still. They also worked in developing indigenous dairy product. NDDP long back set up a R&D center in Sugam dairy. The product was Sugam. It was basically to develop indigenous product. After Sugam was handed over to Baroda Dairy, NDDP had a department of dairy processing in NDDP and then worked on developing indigenous products and processes for mass production of those indigenous products. This was one of the things, when early stage, when we look at it, a rail tanker, and NDDP developed such a rail tankers and all are moving in the railways. We used to see those rail tankers, they are there, big, but when initially came, we were thrilled to see rail tankers moving on tracks for moving milk from one place to another, from Ahmedabad from Anand to Calcutta and Anand to Delhi. It was a great thing to happen. Installing bulk vending, dispensing milk to consumers. That's a great thing NDDP did. NDDP set up 13 cement stations in OF1 and also 12 bull mother farms in OF1. Then need arose that NDDP created these structures. NDDP received ICL mainframe computer 2950. That was the first ICL mainframe computer in India, and it was set up at Anand. This is our present computer building where we that computer was installed, and Prince Charles came to hand over that computer to us, and we are all thrilled to work on that mainframe computer. Part of my work in IIM Bangalore, I was using mainframe computer. So when I saw this computer here, I was using this computer. We developed some systems on that mainframe computer. That time we also developed a least cost formulation for cattle feed. And I still remember that whenever guests come, Dr. Kurien himself used to come and demonstrate how this computer, big computer, we can use it for formulating cattle feed formula. So and at that time I remember we were asked to justify why we need such a big computer. And that time we are calculating that if we are, that time I think about 200 million animals. So if you have records, you have to keep 200 million animals, we need a big computer. Maybe that time we have very small records, but today we see this using it. We have already touched 180 million animal identified registered in the system. So the dream is coming true. What we started with the mainframe computer, although now the computer is becoming smaller and smaller, and many things we can do with a small. But this was a big event in history of NDDB. FMD plant was set up at IL Hyderabad, established IDMC in Vidyanagar, Mother Dairy in Delhi. We also pour into edible oil, fruits, vegetable, set up IRMA. So the key things is that NDDP, whatever required a different stage, they set up those institutions and provided help to users, to the cooperatives and unions and federations. The ninth point I have is whatever institution Dr. Kurien built, it is to everyone who worked in those institutions, they know first this honesty, professional integrity, the values most, sense of purpose. Everybody has sense of purpose. We have to achieve this, we have to do this, work as it is own work. Very hardworking people join this organization and still are there in competition. This is the value that this organization instill, and that is given a value to outsiders also. So many contractors who work with NDDP, they know what NDDP is. And that's the reason why many things we could do it because of this culture and values Dr. Kurien built in an organization set up at right. R&D work, wherever required, R&D setup was set up and R&D work was carried out. I do remember the building where right now is nutrition, processing, and biotechnology, amylotransfer. It was originally a diagnostic laboratory, and still it is known as a diagnostic laboratory. And work on the disease research, FMD and thyroidosis and seromonitoring. We also done work, nutrition group, developed urea molasses, bypass protein feed, mineral mixture. And breeding group also worked with Sabarmati Ashram Goshala on cement processing, embryo transfer. So a lot of work, R&D work was done on productive development side. Also on dairy technology and product development side, a lot of indigenous product came, developed mass machinery for mass production. Engineering division did a lot of work, research on alternative sources of energy, solars for chilling centers, for dairy cooperative processing plants. They had different designs for plants for different products. NDDP also had a support service group. So whenever somebody asked for studies, this group was always available to carry out studies in supply and demand side, urban and rural marketing studies, market information system. So basically, point is I'm making is that there was an organization where carried out research work also wherever required. As I said earlier, with the mainframe computer, NDDP has a culture from the very beginning to have developed information systems. There was an internet-based dairy information system still being used, GIS still being used, developed. DIPA management information system we had used earlier in OF2 and 3, which is now converted in part of become an enough system. We had a bull mother farm systems earlier. Likewise, there were many small systems were developed and used wherever wherever was needed. And lastly, HRD. That is the biggest contribution NDDP has done. NDDB also has set up for regional centers where training was provided to farmers, to the technical people. And one of the best things that NDDP did for promoting Operation Good program was farmers induction program. My goodness, so many farmers who came here and they saw themselves what is Anand pattern. The program is so well developed that they take the farmers they talk about Anand pattern, they take to villages, allow them to talk to farmers, take them to processing plant, take them to cattle feed plant, cattle feed factories. So that provided a real live example to the farmers how cooperatives should be built. And that is helped NDDP and Operation Flood to replicate the program much faster, much faster. This is the program that it's very, very helpful to NDDP and OF. And a lot of need-based training program organized by NDDP for farmers, milk union in different areas in cooperative development, product enhancement, meat processing, quality assurance, marketing, etc. So out of many things, I just have 12 points or key features that in my opinion, help Operation Flood to succeed. There could be many. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this informative session and on the man behind the successful Operation Flood. The story that you narrated was very inspiring, and we have come to know a lot of new things that what happened behind this Operation Flood, successful implementation of Operation Flood. Dear friends, do you have any questions? Then you can send it to the comment section. Yeah, first question has come from Mr. Subir Mitra. He is asking, how does NDDB stay relevant when most of the crops have already matured and they are on their own and they may not require its old expertise?
I would say, as you mature, your needs are also changing. So there are some mature organizations making profit. There are organizations in middle way, just making it, and there are organizations incurring losses. So we need to help them different ways, whatever way we can help them. We need to, like your group, Mitra, that you can take up studies in why certain unions and federations have done well, progressed well, while certain unions and federations not done well. What are the environmental factors? Maybe politics, bureaucracy, government, whatever may be the factor. We need to study and make it available to our union and federation and see that it will be useful to them. That certain unions and federations have progressed well. These are the reasons. These are the environment in which they work. This is what they did, and they were successful. While these organizations in this environment, they did this. This is what has happened. I think NDDP's role could be to provide these informations to them, both all kinds of institutions. It's not that everybody is matured. I think they are matured. They have passed so many years, but still, why they are incurring losses? Have not done enough for them? Or there is something which we can help them to do this. That's what NDDP should do, perhaps.
So taking this question further, like Old expertise, he's referring to the old expertise. If you call all these things as old expertise, then what is the new expertise that as NDDB we require to acquire those expertise?
I think if you're talking the initial stages, it's what more was the operational side of thing. If you set up the cooperative, do like this, you set up the cooperative. You had a skill which was provided. But as we grow, an institution become mature, it is not operational skill that is needed, which you need a soft skill, managerial skill, the analytic skill which is required in order to come out of your problem. And that is a different kind of skill required. But that is where our people should be geared to do this. It is not an operating part now. If I remember the people who were at an early stage, they were just knowing how to set up a cooperative and how to set up a milk procurement route, and they were happy. And that was required at that stage. But now, there's a different kind of input or different kind of support that cooperatives need. And that where NDDP's requirement, NDDP's skill is necessary. We have to develop our own skill in different areas, managerial area.
Anyone else?
Yes, retraining, reskilling ourselves. I tell you, NDDP's own, we have to develop our own skill differently. It's not those sort of OF1 and OF2. Different kind of skills required now.
Sri Rahul Tripathi, he's asking, many state federations are managed by bureaucrats who are disinterested in running it professionally as they wait for more powerful posting. How to bring professionalism in this particular scenario?
Mhm. Yes, this is a problem. The biggest problem we have facing is this. As I said, World Bank have identified in their review report in 95 that they published by World Bank. This is the biggest problem of Anand Patent Cooperative was that it's a government nominated board and government employees are running the days and things. And that was the main reasons why Anand Patent Cooperative in some of the cooperative. They said about 52% of unions were incurring losses. And this is the union where it was controlled by government. Now, it's difficult to change this. But can NEDP take up some unions and demonstrate that you work with the state government and say, just take it away, this government employees, and allow farmers to have this. Let we NDDP help them to build own farmers own and farmers control organization with power to decide on producer and consumer prices. Let us work in few places. I mean, some states would agree to do this. Why can't we do that and demonstrate that in few places we can show that how it is run in Gujarat, it could be done in some other places also. And I think NEDP should also spoil hands and demonstrate that, yes, this could also be done. Maybe then some states will come forward to do that.
Yes, please. Anyone else? No one else? Okay. Thank you very much. Sir, we thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, somebody has raised hand.
Ladhani Saab, please ask. Sir, Ladhani Saab is asking whether the dairy cooperatives would need special tax treatment.
Ladhan Sahab, I am not an expert on tax side, but I would say that I only say that we must find out what could be done to help this federation and unions. Maybe tax things could be considered in one of the factors. I'm not an expert on that side, so sorry for that. But I think, well, if you take up a larger multidisciplinary study of some unions where we are successful and we are not successful, and what could be done, those who are not successful, in order to bring them to financial health, then we can think about all the kinds of, including tax systems.
Sir Anil Patel is asking, uh, do you think recent opening of Ministry of Cooperation is good step for our dairy cooperatives, institutions, federations? Is it really needed to augment this?
Yeah, it's always good if somebody external support comes, but more important is that demonstrating that farmers own, farmers control, the farmers who decide price is possible. These are the cardinal principles of Anand patent cooperatives, and we as NDDP promoting that, we must demonstrate that it works, and then this new department will come forward and say yes, this could be done, and then maybe government control could be reduced or eliminated in some places. Yes, I think it will be useful. We should work with the department, but we must demonstrate. I mean, it is not a watch from the distance. We should spoil our hands.
Anyone else? Any more question? If there is no question, then no one. Yes, sir. Sir, we thanks a lot for sparing your time and sharing your thoughts on this subject. The cardinal principles that you explained, that was very much very interesting, and the success that were there for the successful implementation of operational flood, and that were required to. So the most important thing that what you told about the values that was instilled into the institution made by Dr. Kurien, created by Dr. Kurien. And we also think that without values and principles, no institution, no organization can succeed, whatever they do. Sir, we thanks a lot for your time and your insight into the subject. And I also thank our colleagues and friends, those who have joined for this talk. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for my side also. I also enjoy talking. Although this is not my area, but really I enjoy talking.
Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot.